So now I will explain the complete picture or complete architecture of JVM. Okay, this is in the last session part by part we discussed. Now let me go for one full-fledged diagram. What is so complete architecture of JVM diagram I will explain right now. Listen, sir. First we have dot Java file is there. First we have dot Java file is there. Okay. Here in the .java file, of course, my Java program .java file is there. Test.java, Java source file, Java source file within bracket .java file. Correct or not? This .java file, my compiler what it's going to do? Okay, Java compiler. If I give Java compiler, of course within bracket Java C command, correct or not? Java C, this compiler will generate Java class file, correct or not? Java dot class file. Of course what it means is a dot class file I got. Okay, so this is at very beginning stage. Okay, something like, sir, Java source file, if I compile, now dot class file is going to generate. This dot class file I have to give as input to JVM, Java test. Then JVM is responsible to load and execute test dot class file. Okay. Now this one acts as, this dot class file acts as input to class loader subsystem. Have you remembered in the last session we covered JVM architecture with respect to three modules. First module class loader subsystem, second module various memory areas, third module is nothing but what? Execution engine or execution unit like. Now here just observe. So here I have one module named with class loader subsystem. Okay, named with the class loader subsystem I have. Okay, here assume this one is class loader subsystem. Class loader subsystem like. Okay, in the class loader subsystem mainly there are several parts are there. Okay, first one loading, linking, initialization. Have you remembered, right? What is the first part? Loading. Second part is what? Linking and initialization, right? Even so the first part, okay, is loading. First part is loading and what is the next one? Linking. Second part is what? Linking. Third part is what? Initialization. Third part initialization. Total three parts are there. Initialization, right? Okay. Even in the loading, I hope you people may aware, in the loading also there are multiple parts. Once again, bootstrap class loader, extension class loader, application class loader. Yeah, what is the first one? Bootstrap class loader. Bootstrap class loader. Second one is what? Extension class loader. Extension class loader. Third part is what? Application class loader like. Okay, it is the child of this one, child of this, and it follow which algorithm? Have you remembered? There is one algorithm I cover, extension delegation hierarchy algorithm, right? Okay, this total, these three modules are by default considered as loading mechanism. Okay, loading. Next and after that, second part is nothing but what? Linking. In the linking, once again three phases are there. What is the first one? Verify, prepare, resolve. Sir, first activity. What is the first activity will be performed? Okay, the first activity verify. First activity verify. Second activity prepare. Third activity resolve. Okay, so this one and then this. So now just observe the point well. Okay, like now the third one, initialization. Of course it is initialization. initialization, right? Okay, so first this part will be executed and then this one, and after that this one, right? I hope is that clear for all of you, right? So this total thing, who is the responsible? Class loader subsystem is the responsible for this activity, right? Are you getting? Okay, so that's all. What is this component? Class loader subsystem is the responsible for loading, linking, initialization. How many types of class loaders are there? What is the rule of class loader? What is the algorithm followed by class loader? Next and after the linking, how many activities are there? Initialization, like. So do you know, for this class loader subsystem, which one acts as input? Here this dot class file acts as input for this. That's why here just observe whatever dot class file, so files are there, okay, this one acts as input to class loader subsystem. Are you getting? This one acts as input to class loader subsystem, right? Okay, that's all. Now this class loader subsystem is responsible to load our classes. So while loading, so to load, some memory must be required, and while executing, some memory must be required. So what are various memory areas present inside JVM? Can you explain what are various memory areas present inside JVM? Okay, now here observe this one, observe this part. Okay, what are various memory areas present inside JVM, right? Okay, various memory areas present inside JVM, right? Now various memory areas of JVM, various memory areas of JVM. Now sir, here just this one can communicate with these, right? In that total, how many memory areas are there inside JVM? Can you spell out? 5. What is the first one? Method area, heap area, stack area, PC registers. Last one is native method stacks. Now observe, sir, first part. Okay, first part I am talking about. Okay, this is method area. Assume method area. Do you know, in the method area, which data will be there? Class data will be there. Correct or not? Here class data will be there. In the method area, class data will be there. Class level data will be there. Class level data. I hope this. Now the second one, here do you know, if I consider second memory area, what is the second memory area? Heap memory. Do you know, here the second memory area is heap area, right? In the heap area, which data by default will be saved? Object data. Objects and corresponding instance variables will be saved where? In the heap area only. Object data, like object data by default will be there. Okay, sir, here object data by default will be there, like. I hope you people can aware instance variable. So and the corresponding objects will be stored here. Next and after the dot class file dumped into method area, of course corresponding static variables also will be saved here. Okay, this is. Now the third one. Okay, now the third one here is, have you observed what is the third memory area? What is the third one? Stack area. Okay, now this one is stack area. In the stack area, I covered for every thread a separate runtime stack will be created. Sir, here this one, do you know, here this is, okay, for a T1. Do you know, this is for a T1, this is for T2, like a T2, like so dot. This one is for what? Tn. Okay, like. I hope you people can aware. So do you know, each entry in the stack is called what? Stack frame. Have you remembered? This one is called a stack frame. And a stack frame once again contain how many parts? 3 parts are there. Local variable array. Second one, operand stack, third one frame data. Okay, here total 3 parts are there. Na? Every stack frame contain three parts: local variable array, next frame data, next and after that what, operand stack. Okay, like total 3 parts are there, like. So for every thread a separate stack will be there. All local variables will be stored where? In the corresponding runtime stack. Clear for all of you, right? Okay, this is, so this one is nothing but what, stack area, right? Now the fourth memory area. Okay, like fourth memory area is what is the fourth one? Have you remembered? PC registers. Okay, this is fourth one, PC registers, right? Yeah, this one PC registers, like very simple. PC register, this is, okay, PC register for thread 1, this is PC register for thread 2, PC register for thread n. Okay, sir, PC register for T1. Are you getting? For thread 1, PC register for T2, next PC register for Tn. Okay, dot, because for every thread a separate PC register will be created, for every thread a separate runtime stack will be created, but for total JVM, one heap area, one method area by default will be there. What is the, can you spell out what is the last part we have to talk? What is the last one? Last memory area, native method stacks. Are you getting this one? Native method stacks. Sir, here for every thread a separate stack by default will be there. So T1 for T1, this is for T2, next dot, this is for Tn. Okay, like, so do you know, this is like, this one is like this. I hope not required to keep any explanation now. So this is what, various memory areas. Are you getting that? Okay, total how many memory areas present inside JVM? How many memory areas are there present inside JVM? Method area, heap area, stack area, PC registers, native method stacks, right? Sir, method area responsible for what? Class level data and static variables will be stored here only. So all objects in Java will be stored where? Is nothing but inside heap area. Next and after that, instance variable is the part of object. That's why instance variables also will be stored in the heap area. Next, do you know? So every array in Java is an object only. So these arrays also will be stored in which memory area? Heap area, right? Next and after that, for every thread one runtime stack will be created. Each and every method call performed by that thread will be stored in the corresponding stack, including local variables also. Next, each entry in the stack is called what? Stack frame. And each stack frame contain how many parts? 3 parts are there: local variable array, operand stack, and the frame data. Okay, this part we covered already in the last sessions, right? Next, PC register to hold address of current executing instruction. Once current executing instruction completes, automatically my PC register will be updated to next instruction, right? Okay, this is for every thread a separate next instruction is there. That's why for every thread a separate PC register will be created. Clear, right? And after that, native method stacks for every thread. So this is a separate runtime stack will be created native to hold native method information, right? Is it clear for all of you, right? That's all. These are various memory areas present inside JVM, right? Sir, dot class file came, which is produced by Java compiler. Now the dot class file acts as input to class loader subsystem. Class loader subsystem dumped our dot class file in the method area, like. Now who is responsible to execute our program? Execution engine. Are you getting? Execution engine. Okay, that part we have to talk. Do you know here third part by default considered execution engine. Okay, like a third part, execution engine, like. Sir, this is execution engine, like. So my JVM can communicate, execution engine can communicate with memory areas. Okay, like, sir, here have you observed? In the execution engine, mainly two important parts are there. Can I spell out? What is the first part? Execution engine contain mainly two parts. What is the first part? Okay, first part is interpreter. Have you remembered? First part is what? Interpreter. Second part is what? JIT compiler. Second part is what? JIT compiler. Have you remembered? JIT compiler, how it is going to work? What are various components are there inside? So the first component, intermediate code generator. What is this one? Intermediate code generator. Okay, like now intermediate code generator produces intermediate code. Okay, intermediate code. Now code optimizer is responsible to optimize that code. Code optimizer is responsible. And then what is the next one? Target code generator. Okay, like this target code generator is responsible to generate mission code or native code. Mission code or native code, like mission code or native code. Are you getting, sir, this part? I hope. Now listen. So here this part is by default considered as, have you remembered? In the last somewhere I covered. So in the JIT compiler, there is one special component is there responsible for what? Responsible for hotspots. So who is that component? Profiler is the component. Profiler is the component right now. So this is JIT compiler, right? So not only interpreter, JIT compiler, there are several components are there inside execution engine, like garbage collector, security manager, like there are several components are there. This part is what? Execution engine. Okay, now so execution engine is the central component of JVM, just like our CPU or just like our processor. Who is the responsible to do total cinema is nothing but execution engine is the responsible to execute our program line by line. So interpreter and then JIT compiler. With the interpreter there is some problem we are facing. Okay, even though one method we call multiple time, every time interpretation must be required. Instead of that, if it is the repeatedly required method, better to generate mission code directly only once. Next time without interpretation, happily we can execute. JIT compiler is the responsible to do that, to improve performance of the system. Is it clear, right? And then sometimes while executing, okay, while executing Java program, sometimes my execution engine may require native method libraries. That's why, sir, here assume that native method libraries are there. Here native method libraries may be available somewhere in the hard disk or some native method libraries are there. Who is the responsible to provide native method libraries information? Who is the responsible to provide native method libraries information? Yeah, Java native interface is there. Java native interface, within bracket we can use JNI. Okay, either responsible to provide native method information, right? Now this person can communicate and this person can communicate with that. Now this person is going to provide required information, right? Are you able to understand? Sir, this is so this execution engine is responsible to communicate with, like, so total. So this is simple diagram, the basic idea of JVM architecture, right? Have you remembered? Sir, first I have .java file. My Java compiler is the responsible to compile, to generate .class file, which is nothing but bytecode. Now whenever we are executing, my JVM is going to take .class file as the input. First, who is responsible to load our .class file? Class loader subsystem. Class loader subsystem mainly responsible for how many activities? 3 activities, right? So loading, linking, initialization. Next, in the loading, how many types of loaders are there? How many types of class loaders are there? How many categories are there? 3 types of class loaders. What is the first one? Bootstrap class loader. Second one, extension class loader. Third one, application class loader. Bootstrap class loader is responsible to load classes from Bootstrap class path. Bootstrap class path is nothing but what? rt.jar. Are you getting? All core Java API classes. Which class loader is the responsible to load? Bootstrap class loader is the responsible. Are you getting? All core Java API classes are going to take care by Bootstrap class loader. Clear for all of you? Okay, this is next one. Extension class loader. The classes present inside ext folder, jdk, jrj, lib, ext folder. Extension class loader is going to take care. Application class loader. Application class loader is responsible to load classes from application level class path. Environment variable class path we are going to set. From that is nothing but we are going to get. Sir, can you tell among these the three class loaders, which class path will get highest priority? Bootstrap class loader, Bootstrap class path will get highest priority. In the Bootstrap class path, if Bootstrap class loader unable to load, then who is going to take care? Extension class loader. If extension class loader also unable to find a dot class file, then what? Application class loader. Are you able to understand? After this loading, immediately verification is going to start. Bytecode verifier is going to verify whether your generated bytecode is proper or not, generated by valid compiler or not. Is it a virus or something like? Who is going to take care is verifier. So if verification fails, then immediately we will get what? Verify error. Are you getting? So Java program is always secured. Happily, blindly you can execute on any mission because bytecode verifier is going to take care is it valid or not. Next one, after that, prepare. Can you tell what the meaning of prepare? Prepare. What the meaning of prepare? So for static variables, memory will be allocated and assigned with default values, only default values, but original values for static variables will be placed where? Inside initialization, right? Next, after completing resolve is nothing but like, so all memory, all symbolic references are replaced with original references from method area resolution, right? Initialization, static variable original values will be assigned, static blocks will be executed. That's all. After initialization, class loading completed successfully by class loader subsystem. Are you getting right? Next, how many memory areas are there inside JVM? How many memory areas are there? 5 memory areas. Method area, heap area, next stack area, PC registers, native method stack. In method area, which thing will be there? Class level data including static variables, right? Inside heap area, which thing will be there? Object data and the corresponding instance variables will be there for every thread. Here method area, heap area are per JVM. For every JVM one method area, for every JVM one heap area, but for every thread a separate runtime stack will be there. All local variables will be created where? Inside stack memory. For every method call, one entry will be stored in the stack. Are you getting? That entry is by default considered as what? Stack frame. Each stack frame contain how many parts? 3 parts are there. What is the first one? Local variable array. Related to that method, how many local variables are there and corresponding values will be saved in local variable array. Next one, after that, operand stack. If any intermediate operation is required to perform, which one acts as a runtime workspace is nothing but operand stack acts as a workspace. And then frame data, it contains all symbols we used in that method by default is going to take care. In the case of exception, if any exception occurs, so where the corresponding catch block information by default will be there inside what is this one? Frame data. That's all. Like for every thread one runtime stack is there. Sir, in JVM 10 threads are executing, then how many stacks are there? 10 stacks are there. Sir, in JVM 10 threads are executing, how many heap areas are there? 1 heap area. How many method areas are there? 1 method area. So heap area, method area is the shared memory for multiple threads. That's why the data which is stored in heap area and the method area, so this data is not thread safe because this data can be accessed by multiple threads. But for every thread a separate runtime stack is there. The data which is stored inside stack memory is always a thread safe because this data is available only for T1. This data is available only for T2 but not for other. So the data which is stored in the stack can be accessed by only one particular thread. That's why this one is nothing but what? So the data which is stored in the stack area is always thread safe. Next, for every thread, one PC register will be created to hold address of next executing instruction. Is it clear for all of you? Right? And after that, to hold native methods information, native method stack by default will be there. That's all. These are various memory area. Programmer point of view, which memory areas are very important? Is nothing but method area, heap area, stack area. The remaining two are dummy with respect to the programmer. Right? More important with respect to the programmer is heap area only, because being object oriented programming language, most of the times in Java we are always talks about what? Objects. That's why, so this area is the very important memory area. Clear? Right? Sir, dot class file loaded. Now, who is the responsible to execute our dot class file? Execution engine. Execution engine contain how many parts? Interpreter, next JIT compiler, and there are some more parts are there. Interpreter is responsible to read, interpret and execute Java program line by line. Sir, if any method repeatedly required, instead of interpreting every time just compile once into mission code, next time onwards directly we can use that mission code. Who is the responsible to do this activity? Is JIT compiler, right? So I explained very clearly in the last sessions. JIT compiler, do you know JIT compiler concept applicable only for repeatedly required methods, not for every method. Okay, this is next. And after that, so total Java program should be interpreted at least once. Okay, this is when JIT compiler will come into the picture. If that method is repeatedly required method, who is going to take care whether it is repeatedly required method or not, whether it is hotspot method or not, is nothing but profiler is responsible to identify hotspots. Okay, next. And after that, garbage collector, like there are several components are there. Next, while executing my execution engine, sometimes may require native method information. Who is going to provide that native method information? Java native interface, right? Are you able to get? In the interview room, if any person is asking, can you please explain about JVM architecture, then automatically you can draw this diagram, right? It's very easy. I'm sure he won't ask any other question by seeing this diagram. Okay.